Hi everyone, this is Glow by Kim, and today we're going to be doing a night out glam / gala look. We're going to start off by prepping the skin. I like to use the Bobbi Brown Hydrating Face Cream. So we're just going to apply this all over the face. A little bit goes a long way. Got a little bit of breakout going on, that's okay. It happens to all of us, huh? Please excuse the eyelashes. They're looking type ratchet. I'm looking like a bald pigeon. So we're gonna start off by prepping the eye. I like to use the P. Louise base, and I use Rumor 2. I believe this is the second shade, if I'm not mistaken, and I just apply some in the back of my hand and then onto my lid. I like to use a sponge. I like to use a brush for this part, just to blend it out. And then I like to blend it out so that there's no lines of demarcation. Then I'm going to apply some to the other eye, so on and so forth. So for our eyeshadow look today, we're going to be using the Too Faced Natural Lust palette. And I love this palette because it has the blues, it's like very natural, neutral colors, and then has some warmth in there, some cool tones like the purple and the bluish. So I like it because of its diversity. So I'm going to be using Call Me Back as a transition shade for this smoky eye that we're going to go for. Okay, so I'm going to be using this Morphe M518 brush, and it's kind of like rounded at the top. It's kind of like it's a blending brush, most definitely, but it's got a little bit of density to it, so that's the reason why we're going to go in with it. I'm going to tap some on, dust it off, and blend on the top of the crease. Because it's a transition shade, I'm not going to pack it on as if I needed more pigment, if that makes any sense. So, just gonna use it on the top of the crease, swiping motions to blend it out. You can use circular motions as well, it's totally up to you. By no means do you have to do it the way that I'm doing it. It's however you feel comfortable. I like to place the transition shade pretty high up, close to the brow bone almost. Just because I have so much space, like that's the way my eyes are set up. I have so much space, so I use it all the way up. And like I said, you can do it however it's comfortable for you. Okay, now we're gonna do the other eye. Now we're going to go in with the color Blindfolded. It's like a dark black, just a black shadow. So, and for this color, I'm going to use the ColourPop Collection Sigma Brush E25. And I'm just going to use this to pack on color. I like to start off low. Some people, for this part, they like to use gel liners. It becomes easier for the blending portion. When you're using a dark shadow, you have to blend, girlfriend. So this part does not have to be perfect whatsoever. I like to do it up until the crease. And then once I hit the crease, I start to blend, because what happens is when you put the shadow up way too high, there's more rooms for error. Now I'm going to blend it with that same brush that I used for the transition color, which is the Morphe M518. So we're going to go ahead and use that same color, that same brush. and kind of blend it seamlessly because we do not want that line of demarcation. So I'm gonna use a brown color, like a dark brown color, to blend the tan and the dark color out together. So it'll be like a middleman. And for that color, I'm going to be using the Set and Stone. So we're gonna go ahead and dust that off. We're gonna be using the Morphe 507 brush. We're gonna go in with that Set and Stone color, which is a brownish, a rich brown color, and we're gonna blend. And as you can tell, you can still see that transition color up top, and then you kind of see the brown and then the black. It's gonna take a minute because you wanna make sure that you blend extremely well. Black is not a color that is easy to blend, so. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pack a little bit more black on really quick. Just to make that pop. Add a little more brown of the Set and Stone color. Also, another good tip is, depending on how you want to use the brush, when you use it closer to the tip of the brush, it's gonna put more pressure. And if you do it versus if you were to hold it on the outer portion of the brush, it's a little bit less pressure. So it's more for blending. So we're gonna go ahead and do the other eye the same exact way. We wanna make sure, once again, to blend it up to the crease point. This way there's room for mistakes. And we're not too far up, and we can blend the transition shade. A good tip for those who are righties and are working on their left eye, I would advise, and this is, like I said, this is just the way that works for me. It could be whatever is most comfortable for you. So you can brace onto the face and work your way in. One more time with the brown, that Set and Stone rich brown color. I'm gonna go ahead and use that tan color, and then I'm gonna blend it all together with that brush. And blend, 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 my friends. We're gonna be using the Lancome Teint Idol Ultra Wear Foundation. This foundation, please keep in mind that it does oxidize, so it turns a shade, almost a smidge, like a shade darker. So I like to mix it with a lighter shade of foundation to get my complexion. Okay, so to mix it, I didn't use another foundation. I used the Pro Conceal by LA colors. Super cheap, super inexpensive, very budget friendly. I'm going to use the V4 brush by BH Cosmetics, which is also very inexpensive, and their brushes are actually really good. Like I said, this foundation does oxidize, so keep that in mind when purchasing the product. But it is a great foundation, amazing coverage. I'm going to be using the Beauty Blender or Beauty Sponge by Wet n Wild, and for the price point, it is an extremely good sponge. So we're gonna go ahead and blend. And I do also blend it into the ears. I love the way this foundation feels. It's super full coverage, not super full coverage, it's full coverage enough. Like, it covers enough for me. Now I'm gonna move on to concealer, which I also use for highlighting the face. I'm going to be using the 16-Hour Camo Concealer by e.l.f. Super inexpensive as well, but great for the price point. So I also like the fact that it imitates almost the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer with the doe foot applicator. So I'm going to be applying it under the eye, dragging it down on the bridge of my nose, a little on the forehead, nothing too crazy. Chin, and the Cupid's bow. Going to go back in with that beauty blender and start to blend that out. Now keep in mind, it does look exaggeratedly light for me, but once I go into contour, it'll work. I'm gonna use the back end of the sponge. Please excuse my eyebrows as well. So that's what we're looking like right now. I know it's scary. We'll be okay. So now for the contouring part, I'm going to be using, again, the LA Colors Pro Conceal in the color Beautiful Bronze, which is also super expensive. And I believe right now Ulta's having a sale, and they're like $3 each. Now I'm going to go in with the brush by Royal & Lang Nickel. It's the brush number 10. Now, there's a story behind this brush. I needed a cut crease brush, and I really didn't like any that I was looking for online. I went into my local Michael's and picked it up at the art store. Isn't that great? But honestly, it works super well. Highly recommend it. A little bit, trust me, goes a long way. I like to be able to control the way that certain things work, so I find that the bigger fluffy brushes, they tend to be, if they're not used for like blending purposes, oh my gosh, that did not come out the same. We'll be okay. So for the contouring, I love to blend upwards. And I also like to start above where I want to place it, if that makes sense. So that if it does go low, it's not an issue and it's actually where it's supposed to be, if that makes sense. You don't want your contour to be below the cheekbones because it'll tend to drag the face downwards. And we want to create an illusion of high cheekbones, not saggy cheekbones. Now we're gonna go ahead and set the face. And I like to set a little bit differently. I like to set the highlighted areas with a loose translucent powder. And then for the darker areas, I like to use like a bronzer. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And I'm going to be using the Cover FX translucent powder. So we're gonna go ahead and use that same beauty blender to set. I'm gonna look up because I definitely don't want any crease. If you have smile lines like I tend to have them, you could blow into the cheek like so, and that'll prevent from those lines for the most part. Now we're gonna go ahead and set the forehead. We're gonna go ahead and set the darker areas of the face, or the contoured areas of the face, with Too Faced Chocolate Soleil. This is literally my favorite bronzer. Other than the Hoola one, I recommend them both. However, I hit pan on my Hoola, which is why I'm using my Chocolate Soleil. And dust that off. And I like to use the dome brush. I believe this is the Japanese brush, the 721. I like to saturate it and set. I'm going to go ahead and use it on the forehead portion. So I'm going to be dusting off the Cover FX loose setting powder off of the highlighted areas of the face using the BH Cosmetics number 3 brush. I like this brush because it's very flimsy, if that makes any sense. It's not dense. It's very fluffy. That's the word I was looking for. Flimsy and fluffy. For blush today, I'm going to be using the Morphe blush palette in Warm Master. I'm going to be using the shade Unapologetic and using the brush Vegas Nay by Tamia. And we're just gonna smile a little bit, tap the cheeks, and very lightly. It's a bronzy color. Very lightly, we're just gonna brush it on there. And I like to do it on the apple of my cheeks and blend it out into the contour. Just like so. For highlight today, we're going to be using the PS Brunch Club highlighter. And I believe this is the Primark, brand. It is super inexpensive. I believe I paid $4 for it, and it works so beautifully on the skin. The pigmentation and the color payoff is amazing. So we're gonna go ahead and, as you can see, it works very good. And it really only cost me $4, y'all. I like to highlight on the temples, and then I also like to use it on the brow bone. So for the lips, we're going to be using this red color by Winky Lux. I've had it for quite some time, and it still hasn't failed me yet. Before I move on to the last step, I'm just going to brush my brows because they're like out of control. Need to get them done. And now for our final and last step, we're going to set the face using the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a like and let me know if there are any other looks that you would like me to recreate. Thanks for watching.